Hi, this is Fiona O'Neill, and you're listening to the Wasted Hour podcast.
Welcome, everyone. This is Martin, and you're listening to the Wasted Hour podcast, the podcast about fashion, artists, inspiration, and creative culture. And I'm very happy to introduce today's guest, fashion designer Fiona O'Neill. Hey.
Hi
Thank
everyone.
Thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to us. And as we're stalking you since the autumn-winter season, I wanted to give our readers and customers the possibility to introduce your background story to them, because I've heard a lot of interesting stuff when we first met at the Paris showroom. But the first question that I actually have is because you grew up in Ireland, and I'm really curious, what was your first contact with fashion?
Oh, well, this is a funny one because I was thinking about this when I was listening to one of your other podcasts. I actually started making clothes because I wanted to make Halloween costumes. And I only thought about that recently. It's like the inspiration for the collection that you have is a lot to do with Halloween. And that wasn't on purpose. But yeah, that's how it started because it was like Halloween and I wanted to make a costume that I couldn't find anywhere. And I just kind of drew it up and I just made it. And then I remember people being like, well, you know that I can't do that. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I don't know how you just kind of did that from an idea in your head and managed to make it an outfit or like actual clothes and fit. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought everyone could do that. So,
Oh, that's cool. But
maybe
how old were you when you did that?
I don't know, maybe like 12. That was the first time I actually was making. Mm-hmm. I remember I told you before that I remember drawing and designing stuff, but it was more to do with just drawing and art. I remember saying that I was at a dinner with family friends and I was drawing and someone said, oh, you'd make a great fashion designer. And I think that put it into my head. And all as I was growing up, I was like, oh, I think I want to be a fashion designer. And then it kind of just started to click into place then when I realized I could actually, because some people mightn't have the kind of brain to kind of make something together from I did a kind of a test when I was doing trying to find out what college course to go to. Mm-hmm. I did an aptitude test, and one of the tests was loads of flattened shapes, mm-hmm. and you had to pick out what the shape would be when it was all folded up. And I think I have the kind of brain that is about design, basically. And some people might have struggled with that part. So that's when I was making the costumes, and people kind of said that that's not everyone can do that. That's when I realized that maybe, actually, I've had this idea that it's something I'd like to do, but maybe I'm right for it. So fingers crossed I am.
Yeah, I think you definitely are. But what were your next steps after the Halloween costume? Did you look up for fashion courses, or what did you do at the time?
I was just kind of making things as stuff came up. My friend might do a charity show and I would make a costume or a dress or something. And I remember I did a pattern cutting and sewing course that was part-time, and that was really big for me. I remember making my first skirt and learning. Then I realized there was a lot of math involved, and it's kind of like architecture really. So the pattern cutting is a whole different ball game. But yeah, I did the kind of part-time fashion design courses in Dublin in some a place called the Grafton Academy. And then I did a portfolio in Bray, which is near where I live. And I had a really brilliant teacher there. And basically what happened was I Googled fashion college in London and London College of Fashion came up, of course.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. I want to move to London. I want to study fashion. And I went to this portfolio course to do the portfolio, and my teacher there was so brilliant. I honestly, I always say that I think she changed my life. She could see that I would be more suited to Central St. Martin's, and I was like, I've never heard of this place. It's not the one that I wanted. And then she showed me about it and all the people that have went there, obviously, and she convinced me to go there, and that's where I ended up. When I ended up getting in, I was really happy, and then it was really suited to me. It was probably much more suited.
Oh, cool. Did you also started to follow fashion at the point, like your favorite designers or campaigns and everything?
Do you know what? Actually, no. I wasn't very good at following fashion. I think because I kind of came to it from an art perspective, and I think that kind of still resonates. It was a few years into me actually doing it that I was like, okay, you want to be a fashion designer, but you don't know who. People would always say, who's your favorite designer? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to make this thing. And then I would make it. So I kind of started to feel a bit silly that I didn't have favorite designers when I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. So then I started finding people that I actually resonated with. I think it was just the people that I had heard of weren't doing the kind of things that I would want to do. So it felt like two separate worlds. But then I started to discover people that do the stuff that I would like to do. So yeah, it was probably maybe first or second year in college before I started to find real inspiration from other designers.
But it's so cool to hear that, because just the other week I was talking to Phoebe English, and she came from the same perspective as well, because it wasn't about I want to be like Rick Owens, or I want to be Alexander McQueen or something like that, but also just from the fun of making clothes, and then the other part, the whole fashion circus came later.
yeah, it does. You kind of fall into it, but in a way it's you respect everyone because you can see it's so them. You don't really want to be them, but you want to be your version of you, that kind of way. So it's you really respect, because you can see the essence of everything to do with them, and it's so clear that you can see something and know it's come from them. So that's kind of what is most inspiring to me.
I think so too. How did you how was your time at Central St. Martin's?
I really loved it. Yeah, I really liked it. I think it's kind of difficult because I feel you kind of get taught to be the kind of the creative director, because a lot of people that have obviously done really well have gone there, but some of the other courses might have been more technical. But yeah, I think it really suited me, and I find that it's easier to kind of push the ideas and then bring them back than maybe start with a technical idea and try and make it creative after. Because when you're in the real world in the fashion industry, you're never working on your own. You're always working in a team, and there's other people that have other skills, like pattern cutters and garment technologists, and there's all these other people that you actually work with that in the end, say if you are doing your own brand, a lot of it is the creative direction. So they're very good at teaching you to be that person. But I do think a lot of people struggle when they finish uni, because you're kind of taught to be the top person, but when you finish uni, you need the job as the bottom person. So I think a lot of people kind of struggle to get on their feet when they leave, but then when they find their feet, they're much happier.
Yeah.
That's what I found from talking to my friends.
But did you go to St. Martin's with the idea of starting your own label after it, or did the idea just come like later?
I think it was always, I didn't really think that there was another option. I just thought that that's what you did. And I remember talking to someone in uni about it, and they were like, yeah, but what if you don't start your own label? And I said, well, what else would I do? Like, I didn't have the concept that you would work as a designer for someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's what I've always wanted to do. So I'm very lucky that I can do it. But I also I do like working with other people, and obviously I do love doing prints and stuff. So I'm kind of full of ideas. I'd love to do bits and bobs for other people as well, and different like collaborations and stuff. So yeah.
It's great that you mentioned it, because like I think from the first moment on, I think I wrote it in the introduction when we did the Q&A on the Wasted Hour magazine. When I just walked through the showroom, like the first thing that popped into my head, like from the side of my eye, was like your patterns and like your prints, and because they're so special, and I mean like the special in a good way, that you like don't look at it and be like, oh, the designer's trying this or that, or it doesn't resonate with me, but like the one you're looking at, and like it doesn't get boring at all, like the whole print.
Oh, thank you. I'm biased, so
how I think that's like the one of the main pillars of your label as well. How did you like approach like all these great patterns, like from the current autumn winter collection?
Well, it's funny because I didn't study print, and I've ended up going into it because I always I'd have such a clear vision of what I wanted the end thing to look like. And I would always kind of picture the fabric, and it's not fabric that I could find. So I would always have to just make the fabric look exactly like what I wanted. So I ended up falling into print, and then I was like, oh, actually, I love it so much. It's kind of like painting on clothes. So I think I did so much work for this collection, and there's so many other prints that I haven't even released. Like, my computer's bloody full of them. Okay. So I think I'm going to continue down that route now. And yeah, as you said, it's like a big part of the brand, and I think I've kind of something's kind of clicked with it now, that I think I'm going to kind of keep going and stand by that.
When we were at the showroom, you said that you created the pattern with like an Instagram filter.
Yeah, so part of the kind of the concept of that collection, it was all about like 1900s kind of Halloween and kids dressing up over their own clothes, and the idea of putting on a show or an illusion, like, because that idea of that you used to dress up over your clothes, I just find really interesting. And then I was exploring it in other ways, and I know a lot of people, and I've probably done it as well, that use this app for editing Instagram photos. But my friends, I know people that like use it to like make themselves look a bit skinnier, and you can actually morph the photo. And sometimes we would just do it for fun and just make our faces look really weird. But that's how I started it, because I just knew what I wanted to do to the pattern. And I was like, I actually think it would be easier in this app than trying to do it on Photoshop. And I just made tons of them. And I think it kind of got the feeling across that I was trying to get. And it was really fun. So
yeah, it definitely does. Like, I'm a huge fan of it. Definitely.
Thank you.
What I also wanted to talk about before you launched like your first collection, you also had a very well-known first customer.
Yeah, it was actually your birthday the other day. Yeah.
How did that happen?
So Bjork was my first customer. After I did the when I studied at Central St. Martin's, I did my final degree show, when I did my BA, and I showed as part of the press show. So there's like an internal show and an external show, and I showed as part of the press show, and then I received one of the L'Oreal prizes, and Vogue come to the show, and it's like a kind of launching pad for the designers, and I think she saw the work on Vogue or in the press and contacted the school for my email address. And she asked, would I make one of these pieces, like a custom version of one of these pieces, which I obviously was delighted to do. And she wore it in the cover story for the Gentlewoman. Do you know that? Yeah.
I remember the picture actually too, because like it was like also with the hand printed.
That was the first printed thing. Yeah, I did. It was all hand painted, that collection. So yeah, I was really lucky.
Cool. Did you notice that something happened after that? Like you did like you had like the cover of the Gentlewoman with one of your pieces?
Yeah. So she I think she ordered it. She might have ordered it for just shows in general, but she wore it for this shoot with Alistair McClellan, and it was for the Gentlewoman cover story. Yeah, for that issue, which was great.
Cool. Like after you set up your own label and like you launched like now your first collection, what are the biggest challenges for you at the moment for an independent label?
Oh, there's a lot of them.
because before we started the podcast, we were talking about your favorite podcasts, and you were saying that you like the ones that have like that teach you about like a business side to it or some kind of motivational stuff.
Yeah, I think that they're kind of like definitely like personal challenges, because I've come, just because you've done a degree in design doesn't mean you know how to run a business. So I've been putting a lot of energy into learning about business and stuff on the side. So yeah, I like to listen to kind of business podcasts. But I think for me as a young brand, one of the challenges is that you're doing so many different jobs, because the business isn't big enough to have so many staff. Yeah. So I kind of I'll do a couple of hours as one job and then another job, and that can be quite hard to juggle. But it's great experience, and I wouldn't change it, because you need to know how to run all the different aspects of the business to have someone else do it for you, because you need to know what's being done right and what's not being done right. So yeah, I think that's really good experience. But for the label personally, one of the challenges is I obviously feel very strongly about using like sustainable materials and like eco-friendly materials. Obviously sustainable is a hard word because there's just so many aspects to it, and I did a collection before before the one that you have, and I used everything with sustainable materials, but the process wasn't that sustainable. Mm-hmm. And it's quite hard because you're trying to make all the right decisions, but there's some things that you can't really, the business isn't big enough to kind of remake the wheel, as they say. So I think that's kind of a hard one, because I want everything to be perfect, but we're still setting up, and there's still things that I want to work on. And as well, being a small business, you need to kind of have access to things that can be made for you. You need to have big numbers and you have to meet minimums and stuff like that. So doing things on a small scale and doing them as sustainably as you can can be kind of hard, especially if you want to set it up so that if many people want to buy it after, you can still fulfill lots of orders. But sorry, no worries.
No, but it's do you remember when it was like when it became important to you that you have like a sustainable approach towards the making of your clothes?
I think where it's kind of come from is I just kind of think at this stage, if you are making things to sell or just making more things in the world, like the world kind of has enough things in it. So if you're making anything else, I just don't think it should be harmful. Like I just think I would just feel so guilty if I was just adding more and more things into the world and making the world worse and just filling it with rubbish. So I don't want to do that. I want to just kind of have as low of an impact and still be able to do what I love to do, if that's possible.
Yeah. Do you think that like the whole social, like the sustainable responsibility has become more important to fashion brands in the past year?
I think it has. I mean, I'm sure like if you had a brand for years and you were a big brand already and you're already kind of set in your ways, I imagine it must be really hard because you might feel really bad about rediscovering kind of the impact that you have. And then also you're so big that if you just try to change everything at once, it mightn't work and then the whole business might just flop. So yeah, I think everybody's like trying to make an effort. And as I say, just the systems aren't fully in place there for it to be completely sustainable at the moment. But especially because even if you're buying, if I make something that's completely sustainable, but then I'm still shipping it to somebody. So it's like you try and do your best, but there's always going to be something. So I think the most important thing is that everybody's just trying to make as much as an effort as they can. And then, yeah, I think also with the impact of COVID, I think people are maybe looking at spending money more on like quality over quantity and just like kind of savoring pieces and like buying less, but buying things that they really love and will wear a lot longer and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm hoping because that's how I've been thinking myself.
Yeah, me too. I remember like when I bought my first T-shirt, that was like 80 euros, and it was like so much money for me, and I couldn't wrap my head around the fact at the beginning. But then like when I bought it, and it felt so special to me, and then I washed it, and it's still like until this day, I think I have this T-shirt for like 9 years now, and it's still like it's still there. And once I think you've gone there and you had like a high quality garment of like everything, you just don't want to go back and have something that you wear only like once, and then after you've washed it, you can throw it basically away.
Yeah, you do notice the difference once you kind of buy one thing and then you realize I could have bought 10 T-shirts in a year and I maybe buy 3 or 4, but they last longer. So yeah, hopefully that kind of works.
Apart like from producing in a more sustainable way in the future, what are your next plans for the label?
Well, as we were kind of chatting about before, like especially with COVID, it's been a time where I think everybody's kind of taking a breath and reflecting. Yeah, there's a lot that I want to do, and I think sometimes maybe that's a bit of a downfall because I'm very ambitious and maybe I need to do one thing at a time. But yeah, I think definitely developing the prints more and then maybe putting prints on other items. So I also want to do projects that aren't just about clothes. Mm-hmm. So maybe furniture or homeware, or there's lots of things I want to try. So yeah, I might move in a direction where I'm not just doing clothes, but they'll still be printed.
And what are your next plans personally? Because like also when we spoke before, you said that then like when the first lockdown happened, you felt like the universe had told you like to take a break because you worked so hard for your like the first collection. And so after like taking a little bit of a break and like also relocating, what are your plans personally?
Well, I'm definitely, because I was in London for about 11 years before I've just come back. So I'm taking some time to spend with family and stuff is big for me right now, just because of everything that's going on. And also there's a lot I want to do around Ireland, that like I want to kind of travel around and visit mills, and it's something I've wanted to do for a long time. But now I'm based in Ireland, it will be a lot easier. And kind of maybe make connections and partners with different Irish creatives that I can work with and do exciting things together. So yeah, I think definitely putting more of my heritage into the work, I think, is probably going to be happening now.
Oh, that sounds great. And I'm also very curious about what you're doing, and of course also about all the prints that are on your laptop, which haven't been out in the world already. Very much looking forward to the next things you're doing. As the last question, we're always like doing in the podcast. Imagine you're at the airport and you would be given a free flight, and where would you go to and why?
That's a good question. Where would I go? Do you know, I've been really craving going to like Norway or somewhere. Just, I don't know why. But yeah, I think somewhere like Norway would be really nice. It's somewhere kind of quite secluded.
Yeah, I think that the nature there must be beautiful. And sometimes you have like this feeling in you that you hear about like a place or someone has talked about it and you'd be like, oh, I just want to go there.
Yeah, I think because I like watching kind of design, like house design programs. And I think I must have seen a program where there was this kind of amazing house on its own, like on an island in Norway. And
I've seen this one too. And you have to get like a little boat to get.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of program it was, but I've just had it in my head for a while that I was like, oh, that would be really nice.
Yeah, I think it's a BBC series, and it's on Netflix, and they're always showing like the most exclusive houses.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things on Netflix as well, because like I have like a list written down together with like, oh, we have to visit this and this and this and this.
Yeah, because I like watching grand designs or like sticking on the background if I've got some sewing to do, and I eventually would like to build my own house. So that's why I like watch those things and kind of get ideas. But yeah, I'd like to go visit.
Cool. So if you
a really weird, strange house somewhere would be nice.
So if you also need some advice about building like a house or like a electricity system, you can always like hit me up.
Brilliant. Yeah, because you've just done some renovations.
Exactly. But before that, hopefully we can see each other again. Very soon, like in person, do like the second episode of this podcast.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm very much looking forward, like I said before, to the next collection. And I'm very happy to have you on board on The Wasted Hour.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Cool. It's been lovely to catch up.
Thank you, Fiona. So thank you everybody for listening, and we'll hear each other next week.